Hi, welcome to TurtleBurger podcast. My name is Brittany. This is my YouTube channel that I like to talk about all things crochet and knitting and yarn related and all the fun notions and accessories that goes with it. Today is Tuesday, January 24th. I'm hoping to have this edited and posted by Thursday. I have lots around me. I did not write notes like I did last time, so we'll see how this turns out. If I need to re-record anything, no big deal. I've got 2 days from when I wanted. I wanted to thank you all so much for your kindness on my last video. I don't have the words to say it again, so if you don't know what I'm talking about, feel free to go check out that video. But thank you so much for all the kind words and support, and I received cards, and I'm very thankful for all my knitting friends. Okay, so let's get into it. I have one finished object and just too many whips. I'm not even counting them. I'll just show them. I'm very tired today. We've been getting up earlier, so I'm having some afternoon coffee, although it's probably pointless because it's decaffeinated. But this is, you can see it kind of in the top there. This is just a skim milk French vanilla latte. I kind of made it up over Vlogmas, I think is when I started drinking it. It's just skim milk, instant coffee, and sugar-free French vanilla creamer. Although the creamer could change. I think over the holidays I was using the peppermint mocha. Really good though. Hopefully it'll wake me up a little bit for this afternoon lull. Okay, so enough of that. Let's get into it. Put that to the side there. So my one finished object I have is a baby blanket, a crocheted baby blanket. This is just a granny square. This is the Happy Baby Afghan by Lion Brand Yarns. I'll hold it up a little over me. It's just a huge granny square. It measures 29.5 inches by 29.75 inches. Because I ran out of yarn. Well, I didn't run out of yarn. I have 8 grams left, and apparently 8 grams was not enough to even get half of it, so I had to rip that round back and finish it. This is used with an H hook. I did go down a hook size because I felt like it was just too loose. It called for an I hook originally, which is a 5.5 millimeter. This is a DK weight yarn. It is Bernat Baby Sport in the color lavender. So it's coming up a little more blue on camera, but it is a very pretty lavender purple. And this is the first item. Well, it's not really the first item in my Etsy shop because I already have my Mickey Mouse cocoon pattern in there, or rather I should say inspired by Mickey Mouse cocoon pattern in there. So that will be listed soon if you are in need of a baby blanket for yourself or a gift for someone. There's really not much else to say about that. Actually there is one thing to say about that. I really liked this pattern. I didn't like starting off the pattern because you turn every row instead of just going round and round and round. You turn it the opposite direction. And at first I was like, I don't really want to do that. And I was looking at pattern pages, and if I do a multicolor, I will not be doing that. But I happened to be watching another video, and I don't even think it was a granny square video. I don't remember what I was watching, but they started talking about the granny squares. And apparently the reason you turn is because that is what makes it a square instead of kind of, because crochet naturally leans, I think to the left it is, and so this keeps it at a square. So I was like, okay, turning it is. So I really liked that pattern, so that will be in my rotation, at least for solid colors, so that the project pages I was seeing when they had like multicolored, maybe not so much variegated, but definitely if there's a longer color change, it was just looking all kinds of wonky because of the way the colors were going. I didn't care for that. But anyway, solid colors will be my go-to crochet granny square pattern. I think well, I'll talk about that later. Next up, oh, so that was my finished object, and I have a half finished object, which I've got stuff all around me here. Let me see if it's this one. Yes, it is. Okay, so I finished the first of my Marie Schrader socks. I did not bring in my blocker, but that's okay. Here it is. Sorry, my colors are changing. So here's the first one. Absolutely love this. This is where I was the last time, where my gummy bear is. That was from Louise of Adventures with Yarn. So in the past 2 weeks, I finished all of this down to the toe, and I am on the ribbing for the second sock. Let me see how much more I have to go on that. That's 10, whoops. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I only have 5 more rounds on that cuff, and then I can start that. These needles, I'm doing Magic Loop, is a US size 1, 2.25 millimeter needle. And here are some of the details. So you start off with your cuff. So it's cuff down, obviously. And then I did 6 repeats of the chevron pattern. And then it calls for an eye of partridge, heel flap turn, gusset decreases, that whole 9 yards. And then I have a total of 18, so I must have done 12 repeats from where you join back in the round and down. And then if you recall last time, this pattern calls for a star toe. And I was not sure I was going to do that, simply because I tested a sock pattern last summer, my Princess Cuff Shorties, that she called it a hat trick toe, which is very, very similar. And in that, all you're doing is you're finishing the toe instead of Kitchenerring it so that it's more square or wedge. You are finishing it like the top of a hat, where you just pull the yarn through and, go on your way. And so I'm not loving those socks. I wore those for a few days in advance of doing the toe, just so that I could, kind of know what I was getting into. And that one, it's not that I didn't like the toe, but those whole socks are a little too big for my feet. I think they were only like the second pair of socks I ever made for myself. So they were a little loose, and so I was like, I don't know if that's the toe. I'm not loving it. But here's where I changed my mind. When it comes to sock patterns, I completely trust Michaeli. That's why I test every pair of socks that I can for her. In fact, I think only but one, which I have bought and I do want to make, I have tested every one of her sock patterns, which I think this is her technical 4th one, 3rd one for me, if that makes sense. I'm kind of rambling today. But I love this. I love this toe. They fit so well. I want to wear it. Of course, I've only tried it on, but I really want to wear it so that I, walk around in it and whatnot. But I really like this. One thing that I liked about the star toe is I thought maybe this part would be kind of sticking out the top of my toes, but it doesn't. It's kind of on the bottom, and it just is a beautiful finish. It really is. So she's currently obsessed with it, or she was at the time she was making this, and I see why. It is so easy, especially when you get to the end of a sock. You're like, I just want to get done, and it is beautiful. I started it usually with the rounded toe. I start right at the tip of my little toe, my little toe. So this time I started at the base where the little toe actually starts, and it was perfect. Love it. Love this pattern. I already said the needles I was using, which is a 2.25 millimeter US size 1. This yarn I'm using is Monarch yarn on Etsy in the color Violet, and it is so pretty. I really like her yarn. I hope she gets back to dyeing again. Actually, but here it is in the cake. It's just, I'm holding it in a little preemie baby hat I made years ago. So that is my half finished object. I'm excited to get that done. Put that over here. Let's see. The next thing I have to talk about, I think I'm gonna hold off on that. I started the January dishcloth of the month by the Kitchen Sink Shop. I think it's called Speculoos or something. This year she's doing her dishcloths based on her favorite, like, desserts, maybe? Desserts or cookies or something like that. I'm not really sure. And here is the dishcloth. So I have completed one repeat of the pattern, which I think is about 16 rows. So here it is, and so it will repeat really nice. I am using a US size 6 4mm needle. The yarn I'm using is, I'm using this cone, which is Peaches and Cream in the color, I don't see it on here, but I'm pretty sure it's like Sea Breeze or something. Yeah, it doesn't say, but I am confident it's Sea Breeze. So this cone seems to last forever. It was 14 ounces, but I've made a lot out of it, I feel like. I don't know if I have or not, but so there is that. I'm excited to get that done. I really would. Last year I ended up completing 9 of the 12 dishcloth, so it would be nice to at least finish 10. That's what I'm going to say my goal is. Preferably all of them, but I'm going to say 10 because that would be 2022. Let me see here. Next I have what do I have? Yeah, I'll show this. I have my husband's cuff down socks I've been working on. Oh, no. Backtrack, and I just hit the camera. Sorry about that. I wanted to keep that for a particular reason. So actually I have 2 new cast-ons. I have been having some major cast-on-itis, and you know, I think that's just what we do. So the first one, I have finally cast on a Musselburgh hat. This is a pattern by Ysolda Teague, and I am using Alta Truth in the color 3015. It is a very pretty, I don't know if you would call it eggplant, plum, something like that. It's a very deep purple. And I am still in the increasing stages, and I am using a US size 3.75 millimeter needle. I think honestly I could even go down. I don't know how stretchy of a fabric it's supposed to be, but this is a DK weight yarn. It will be for me, and it's my first Musselburgh, so I am excited to make more of these. As you see, I have them on a 9-inch circular. These are Chalgu, the bamboo circulars, and I am trying to make I think it was the adult small. When I measured my head, I was getting like 20 inches, and that was the size for adult small. I don't know if I measured that correctly because I don't feel like my head is that small. I don't know. Maybe it is. So that is that. And then the next thing I cast on is a shawl. This is the front side. This is the Close to You shawl by Justyna Lorkowska, maybe? I don't know. Everything will be linked below. And this is a very stretchy shawl. I don't know if I'm going to use a 1 or 2 skeins. I'm going to start with 1 and see how that kind of ends up. The needles I'm using is a US size 6 4 millimeter needle. The yarn I'm using is Cascade Yarns Heritage in the color 5655. I think I actually looked that up, and it was Como Blue, maybe? I think is what it's called, but it's a very teal color, so I'm not sure why it was called that. It is a fingering weight, and it is 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, and I am making this to gift to a friend. Hopefully it actually gets finished. And this is what the yarn looks like. So as you see, I'm like, why do they call it blue? It's very green, very teal, and the yarn's a hot mess. But it's working. It is what it is. I had it in one of these cozies and then doubled up with this preemie hat I made years ago that I'm using as a yarn cozy now, and it just all completely came apart. So it is what it is. Okay, now I will talk about my husband's socks. Okay, so no, actually I'm not. I have one more thing to show that you haven't seen because I started it yesterday. So this is another hot mess. This will be a love note for little lady. I am wanting to make her an Easter shirt. And right now I just have the provisional cast on, but I'm actually trying something. I was trying to do the cast on instead of the provisional, instead of with waste yarn, just putting it right onto a barber cord. And I did have it on the provisional cast on. I did have the barber cord on the provisional cast on and then knitted 6 rounds into the pattern, but then I was confused on what stitches do I pick up, because the barber cord was going through the right leg of the first round, which was a knit. So I was like, do I have that be the first round of what I would be picking up stitches? I don't know, it just got too confusing for me, so I ripped it all out. And then the video I'm actually going on, I think is from Island Yarn or something like that, and she tried this with a different type of project, and she said the only cast on she could get to work this way was with a backward loop cast on. So I thought, well, I will try that. So I'm just in the middle of knitting the backward loop cast on and then seeing if it kind of turns out like a lifeline is what I'm expecting. And also that was how the original I did with it going through the right leg of each knit stitch was basically a lifeline. And that was also why I was confused, because I didn't know what I should be picking up when I come back to the neckline. So I don't know, I've tried a couple of different methods. I'm gonna see how this works, and if not, then I will just be following a regular tutorial for that. The needles I'm using are Clover Takumi US size 10 6mm needles on a 16-inch circular. Here's the yarn I'm using. I actually was using this yarn many years ago in 2018. It was going to be an Easter shirt for me. I had 2 granny squares made that I hadn't put together. Yeah, so I unraveled those, and this will be her Easter shirt. If I get it finished in time. We shall see. And that yarn is Yarn Bee Soft Secret Ombre in the color Whisper. And that is it for that project. Hopefully in a couple of weeks we'll see a lot of progress on that. And now it's finally time for my husband's socks. Okay, so I decided to work these 2 at a time, and I am really liking that for this, since this is the first time I'm making his socks. So this is where I was last time. Whoops, I'm getting all confused here. So I'm just knitting stockinette in the round on magic loop 2 at a time right now. So I have no idea. Although this is a funny story. So I was Zoom knitting with a couple of friends the other day, and we were talking about these socks, and apparently I don't know measurements, because I was like, yeah, I don't know how long I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna measure it at 3 inches because I'm trying to go by using the guideline for the Rise socks by tincanknits, and it starts out at 3 inches. Now I don't know what I was thinking, because then they started talking about their socks and how they're sometimes like 6 or 7 inches for a full length sock, and I was like, that's a big difference. So I went back and looked at the Rise sock pattern to see what it says. I don't know where I got 3 from, because it clearly says 8 inches. So I don't know. Maybe I thought it was a 3 at the time. Anyway, so I have to adjust my thinking on that. So we'll see how it is. I'm gonna try it on them at about 6 inches and see. And these are being made on a US size 1 2.25mm, and I casted on 72 stitches, and these have been great for travel. I've been taking them out with this when we have things to do, and it's been working out really well, even though it is 2 at a time. Now the reason I kept those for last is because now we can talk about a couple of acquisitions. The first one is, well, actually both of them came from, I won 2 giveaways. The first giveaway that I'll tell you about was from Danelle of Novel Knits. She had a Shop Your Stash 2022 make along, and I was randomly selected with that, or for her prize. And so she gifted me the ranunculus pattern by, I can't remember it, but everybody knows the ranunculus. So I have been very eager to make that one, so she generously gifted me that one. And then the second one I won was from Carla from Carla Knits podcast. She has a Love Your Stash make along last year, and she sent me this very neat bag of goodies. And so the reason I wanted to mention the socks last is because they go hand in hand. One of the things she gave me was this needle case, and so I have already moved these over to this. So I use DPNs when I make my heel flaps and gussets, and so I've already put 2 of my DPNs in this one, so that will be in one sock bag. And then she actually, last year I won another giveaway with her, and she gave me this needle case, and so this stays in my main sock bag. And well, not main, but you know, one of my sock bags. And I have I have the actual case and 2 more needles, actually 3 more needles, because it's a 5 set in there. So that's why I wanted to show those last, because now I have 2 needle cases from Carla. So that is very neat and exciting. And then the other thing is in my main sock bag, I keep, because as you see, I use a lot of stitch markers. And I keep this, which was another gift from my friend Leslie, and it has, let me take this off. It's a needle case, and it has a bunch of stitch markers in it. And I always keep this in my sock bag. And so, and I'm always switching them back and forth when I need them. But one of the things Carla gave me was this adorable little Tea Notions bag, which is from Random Fandom Bags, and she put some stitch markers, light bulb stitch markers in it. So now I can keep this in that bag, and then also this adorable magnetic bookmark, which will be really nice when you print patterns out, is what I'm hoping to use it for. And it is from the Caffeinated Fairy. So super, super cute. So thank you so much both to Danelle and Carla. I know Carla watches. I think Danelle watches occasionally. So thank you both if you see this. I really, really appreciate the pattern and the gift from Carla. So those are super neat. Now let's get into some future cast-ons. So I showed you Little Lady's Love Note. As soon as I finish her like ribbing and yoke with that size needle, I'm going to be casting on, for me, either a black love note. I'm going to make both of these colors. I just don't know the order. Either a black love note, or I'm going to be completely redoing my teal love note that I did last year, and using the correct size needles and using the correct size for me, so that it doesn't turn out too small. So those will be in the future. Oh, and also I didn't bring the yarn over, but I'm hoping very, very soon. I just don't know how much time I have left with the weather and being a slow knitter to cast on a weekender. I unraveled the one and only crochet shirt I've ever made, which was, I think, just called a basic crochet tee or basic tee or something like that, from Homemade Happiness, or Homemade is Happiness, or Hooked on Homemade Happiness, something like that. I'll put a picture in. I unraveled that, and that weight of worsted weight is very, it must be similar to what Andrea Mowry used for the weekender, because in the project pages a lot of people were using the similar yarn that I have, which was Lion Brand Heartland, and we're getting engaged with it. So I figured it must be similar. That would be a great yarn for it, and I should have plenty of yarn, because I think the crochet shirt took 3 or 4 skeins, and if I don't, because it's commercial, it's an easy one to get an extra of, and no big deal. And then the last new cast on I will be casting on is this yarn. This is Bernat Baby Sport in the color Tiny Tulips. Getting a little blown out here. It's primarily white with a bunch of variegation of green and purple and orange and pinks, and I thought there was yellow, but maybe not yellow. Anyway, and this will be, I believe it's going to be a baby blanket, but I think it's going to be a knit baby blanket. I found a knit baby blanket pattern that basically is just like a much larger dishcloth. So I think that's what this is going to become, because like I said before, I did not want multicolor yarns to be crochet granny squares with that pattern, because I don't think it will look very good. I could be wrong, but I also could not be wrong. So anyway, that is all I have for today. Those are all my finished objects, my works in progress, acquisitions, and future cast-ons. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you will consider subscribing if you haven't, and please don't forget to leave a like before you go. I hope you have a great couple of weeks, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.